On today's episode, we are doing our first 2020 NBA draft mock draft, going through the first round, all 30 picks, mocking the players to where I see them going in the real draft. This, of course, will change over time. Michael Bolton.
Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com and at Yahoo Sports Australia. And you can find me on Twitter as always at redrock_bball and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today, as I said, we are getting into looking at the first mock draft of the season. Today's first mock draft of the season is brought to you by Built Bar, the best tasting protein bars you can find. Go to builtbar.com and use the promo code Locked On to save $10 off. This is an NBA draft mock draft. A few people said, I said I was doing a mock draft. Oh man, that's great. You're talking about, is Giannis going to go at 1? Is Harden going to go at 1? This is not a fantasy mock draft. As I've said before, any fantasy mock drafts done at this point in the year are literally useless and misinformation. So I will not be doing any fantasy mock drafts. They are pointless. This is also not a mock draft based on dynasty rookie value for these players. We will do that once we know what teams they go to. There'll be plenty of content on that. This is me looking at the NBA draft and doing a mock draft for it. Now, in terms of the lottery, we don't know the lottery order as of yet. So I went on to Tankathon and did sim lottery to just mix up the top of the standings. So that's how you'll see this play out when I do version 2 of this mock draft. I'll do another sim lottery until we get the actual lottery results. So teams will be mixed around, and that'll mix up the order of these drafts as we get into it. So without further ado, let's actually get into it and start talking about this draft and how things can go down across the league. Again, 30 picks here. This is not all just going to be looking at these players and what I think the teams will do. There's a little bit of that pushed into it, but it's also about how I think that these players should be drafted, what order they should be drafted in as well. So let's get straight into looking at that at the moment. All right, so as I said, I ran that mock lottery over on tankathon.com. And with the first pick, it's the New York Knicks. Yes, the New York Knicks get the first pick in this mock NBA draft. And with pick number 1, I took LaMelo Ball out of Illawarra. Of course, we've done a big video on LaMelo already, a scouting video. They desperately need point guards, the Knicks, so that makes sense. I think he's probably the guy with the highest superstar upside in this class as well, as I've mentioned before. So, I don't think there's any real problem with having LaMelo here in this spot. The shooting is an issue, but he averaged a good amount of assists in Australia. He averaged almost 7 assists per game, almost 8 rebounds, 17 points per game, over 1.5 steals. The true shooting stuff was pretty rough, under 50%. But still, I'm taking LaMelo there at pick number 1 in this mock draft to kick things off. At pick number 2, a change in the order as well, just in case you weren't aware of what the order was. The highest odds were the Warriors, then the Cavs, the Wolves, the Hawks, Pistons, Knicks, so they jumped up from 6 to 1, Bulls, Hornets, Wizards, Suns, Spurs, Kings, Pelicans, Blazers. That's how the current lottery odds go. So at pick number 2, did the Warriors fall down to number 2? No, they didn't. The Chicago Bulls moved up from number 7 into the number 2 spot. Of course, the Bulls have made the 7th pick their own over the last 3 or 4 seasons. Wendell Carter, Larry Markkinen, Kobe White, all picked with pick number 7. In this mock draft, the Bulls move up to number 2. So which direction did I go here? I took KILLIAN Hayes. Again, I've been pretty clear in thinking that Hayes and Ball are the best 2 prospects in this class. I think there's very limited superstar upside in this entire draft class, but guys like Hayes and Ball have the ability to be strong starters with some superstar ability. Hayes moves in here. Now, the Bulls, yes, they have Zach LaVine. They have Kobe White. Thomas Satoransky's been their point guard. Chris Dunn is there. But I think overall, White is not a distributor. LEVIN is not a distributor and a horrible defender, and just getting a player like Hayes who can work alongside White long term, could work alongside LEVIN. Who knows what White's role is? Is it a sixth man Lou Williams type? I think getting someone like Hayes in who can distribute the ball at a high rate and be, I think, a solid shooter despite his horrible shooting numbers in Europe. A really good free throw shooter, so that gives me encouragement there with Hayes. He did only average 11.6 points per game, but he's still only 18. He averaged 5.4 assists, but if we look at his per 36 numbers, 8 assists, 17 points, 4 rebounds, over 2 steals, they are really strong numbers. Unfortunately, as I said, the shooting was rough, but still, despite shooting like 30% from 3, he had a 59% true shooting, which is obviously an encouraging number. So the Bulls at number 2 go with KILLIAN Hayes. The number 3 pick in this draft, it was the Atlanta Hawks who jumped up from number 4 to number 3 in this draft. So at number 3, they are taking the hometown guy, Anthony Edwards from Georgia. I think, again, those 3 players seem pretty consistent to me as the top 3 in this class, Ball, Hayes, and Edwards. Edwards also is a nice fit alongside Trae Young. Yes, there's Cam Reddish. Yes, there's Kevin Huerter there. But adding another guard into that mix is great. He doesn't need to have that creation ability, although the Hawks are still screaming out for a secondary creator, and that's why I like Huerter so much next to Young. But having Edwards there, he can be a scorer. He's not a shooter. He can be a scorer with some strong enough perimeter defense abilities. I think that would fit really well, just to be a guy that can take some usage load off of Trae Young. He's got some of that upside to be a strong scorer, limited impact in other areas, but still, Edwards averaged 19 points per game, 21 points per 36, 6 rebounds, 1.5 steals. Some pretty strong numbers there. True shooting was a little bit rough, but some of that was to do with the excessive usage he had, which playing next to Trae, he wouldn't have that sort of responsibility. So Anthony Edwards goes at pick number 3 in this mock draft. Before I get into pick number 4, just a reminder to you guys that Built Bar is the best tasting protein bar that you can find. Most other protein bars, it tastes like you're eating sawdust off the floor of an old-timey saloon. That's not what Built Bar does. They are the best tasting protein bars you can find. They're also low calorie. Their 20 gram protein peanut butter brownie bar has only 170 calories with 20 grams of protein. That is ridiculously low. And the taste, I'm sure when you try it, you will agree with me, the best tasting protein bars that you can find anywhere. Built Bar has 16 different flavors. 8 of those flavors are nut-free, so if you're dealing with nut allergies, a perfect way to get those bars into your life. And if you use the promo code LOCKEDON at BuiltBar.com, you will be able to get $10 off your first order. That is a fantastic deal. Get yourself a box, 18 bars. It's about $35, $36. Get $10 off that. What a fantastic deal. So go to BuiltBar.com and use that promo code LOCKEDON to save $10 off your first order of Built Bar, the best tasting protein bars you can find. Let's move on now to the next pick in this mock. And at number 4, it's the Washington Wizards. They have jumped all the way up from pick number 9 in this lottery mock up to number 4, pushing the Warriors and the Cavs and the Wolves out of those top 4 spots. So at number 4, we've got the 3 guards off the board. Ball, Hayes, and Edwards are all gone. At number 4, the Wizards are taking a big man. It's ONYEKA OKONGWU of USC. Many of you will be screaming, Josh, you're a wanker, you're a dickhead. Where's Wiseman? He's a generational talent. I obviously don't believe that. I think that OKONGWU can be a better NBA player than what Wiseman can. Maybe his ceiling isn't quite as high, but I think the risks are lower with OKONGWU. We're going to do a full scouting profile on him next week. But from what I've been watching of him, I've done a fair bit of research on OKONGWU. I like what he can do. Now, there are still concerns about him in terms of his shooting, but defensively, I really love what he can do. Strong shot blocker, can guard on the perimeter as well. Not a horrible passer. He's got some ability in that area. Not the greatest passer. We're not talking about Nikola Jokic, of course, but some ability. But the defensive stuff, the perimeter stuff, the rebounding. The concern, I guess, we have with OKONGWU is a little bit of size. He's listed at 6'9", maybe 6'10". That can be a bit of a worry, but excellent efficiency, 65% true shooting. Did it on strong usage numbers as well. His box score plus minus was fantastic. He averaged 19 and 10 per 36 with 3.2 blocks. Only 19 years of age as well, and did it for USC, really carrying that team. So I've got OKONGWU there at number 4, can slide in. Probably can't play the 4, but it's not a completely outrageous scenario. And with the Wizards having, Onzes Pashechniks and Tom Bryant as their centers, OKONGWU has a real path to playing some minutes over there. At number 5, It is the Golden State Warriors, moved down from number 1 to number 5. Now, the reports have come out that they are more than happy to go with Marquise Chris as their starting center. But once we get here to pick number 5, I'm not going to pass up on the Bluntster, on Blunty, James Wiseman. I'm taking James Wiseman at number 5 for the Warriors. They might believe in Marquise Chris. I may not believe in Wiseman as much as others. It is really tough to get a full gauge on Wiseman. His high school film, he did have some issues in terms of trying to do too much. He didn't do that in college, but we saw only 3 games of it. Defensively, protecting the rim, that's fine. Perimeter, he's really rough. He doesn't pass. The shooting has been a problem for him. But I do think that when we get to, again, we're talking about this draft where I don't think it's all that strong. So this is the place to take him. You go for that upside pick. They can afford to wait on Wiseman to see what happens over the next 2 to 3 seasons to see if he can develop into an upper echelon center. I think he can be a good starting NBA center, but to be an upper echelon star center, I'm not really sure we're at that area yet with Jimmy at this point. So Blunty goes at pick number 5 to the Warriors. At number 6, it's the Cleveland Cavaliers. Of course, in the last 2 drafts, they've taken the Padawan Colin Sexton and Darius Garland. So now they are going with a wing, Isaac Okoro, at pick number 6. Now, Okoro's offensive ability is rough at this point. He averages 13 points, but defensively, really strong. Now, there is a little bit of a worry that the defensive stats, much like DeAndre Hunter last year, weren't really there. Under a steal per game, under a block per game. But I think there is still some ability for Okoro to develop into an above-average offensive player. We're not there yet with him. It's going to be a work in progress. The Cavs have a huge hole on the wing. There's no doubt about that. And he's not going to be a usage player that's taking it away from Sexton and Garland. I think there is upside in him. Again, this draft is relatively rough, but getting a wing who is 6'6" with a decent enough wingspan, which is exactly what Okoro is, and can provide some defense, which is key on that wing there, and being able to draw free throws, which he did at a huge rate in college also, that is encouraging. Now, he only shot 67% from the line, which is a horrible number, and that doesn't really translate into good shooting numbers. But I think Okoro here would make sense at pick number 6. At number 7, we're going with the Minnesota Timberwolves, and I'm selecting Obi Toppin at pick number 7. He was the College Player of the Year this year. He is the oldest player out of these players that we've selected so far, 22 years of age. Defense is 100% optional with him. He's not good at all, but fitting next to Karl Anthony Towns, I can see that fit. Now, that is not the recipe for a good defense, but let's just go balls to the wall. Russell, Towns, Toppin, Beasley. Let's just forget about defense. There is a massive hole at power forward here. He showed really good shooting in college, 39% at Dayton this year, and that's an encouraging thing for him to do. Defensively, there's nothing happening. Offensively, scoring, finishing, fantastic. Passing, a little bit to be desired, but getting a guy that can be a player, along with Towns, they can both shoot, and that's a really dangerous front court. Again, the defense is just going to be the real problem. I wouldn't want to play him at center, so having him next to Towns, I think, does work for me in this area for your mate, Obi Toppin. At pick number 8, the Detroit Pistons. This is the Kentavious Caldwell-Pope Memorial pick number 8 for the Pistons. They are taking Devin Vassell of Florida State, a guy who had just really amazing shooting numbers. He's a 6'7" wing sophomore, but still pretty young, hasn't turned 20 yet. But the thing that we love about what he did is 42% shooting from 3. He averaged 13 points in only 29 minutes. That's 16 per 36. He wasn't a high usage player, but a 59% true shooting, really strong defensive numbers as well. He translates pretty well in the PIPM draft model also. So taking Vassell here, a guy that can play at the 2 and the 3, with Kennard there, with Sekou Doumbouya in the mix as well, with guys like Bruce Brown, just adding another wing player who's a really good 3-point shooter. That's why I've got Vassell going at this area. Now, this draft is a weird one, as I've talked about. The top end upside isn't really there, but there are 45 players who you could consider first-round players. There are, I reckon, 25 players you could consider top 15 players, and there's such a narrow margin between all of these guys. You're starting really around this range, or even a couple of picks before, where it's he could go at Vassell could go at pick 6, pick 5 even, and he could go at pick 17 or 15. So I've got him here going at pick 8 to the Detroit Pistons. The next selection, Pick number 9, the Hornets also seem to love pick number 9, and they're going with TYRESE Halliburton of Iowa State, one of the best passers, if not the best passer in the entire draft. Halliburton also put up some pretty good shooting numbers, but there is legitimate concern about how that's going to translate across to the NBA. 63% true shooting numbers, fantastic. Box score plus minus, off the charts. 6 rebounds, almost 7 assists, 2.5 steals. These are really great numbers. 42% from 3, hitting 2.4 a game. Also, really, really strong numbers, but gets to the line never. I think he can be a decent enough three-point shooter, but does his athletic limitations limit his ability to get his own shot? Do you want him to be a point guard? Probably not that primary point guard, but they've got Devontae Graham. They've got Terry Rozier, who can do a bit of ball handling. He's a great passer, but not a guy that can create those shots for himself necessarily, and that's probably part of the concern with Halliburton. But I think he can be one of the best passers in the NBA, a creator for others, with some good spot-up shooting ability, playing at the wing. 6'5", he's got that ability to play the 2 as well, and with some other guards in the mix there that can help him out. So pick number 9, it's TYRESE Halliburton going to the Charlotte Hornets. Rounding out the top 10, Phoenix has pick number 10, and we are going with Tyrese Maxey of Kentucky, getting another guard in the mix. Ravishing Rick Rubio is not going to be around forever. Maxey had some disappointing moments in college, but he's super fast, really athletic. He's only 6'3". Is he a point guard? Is he a shooting guard? Again, we often like to give the benefit of the doubt to Kentucky players, and that works out in some situations. Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero. It doesn't in others. Example, the Fort, Kevin Knox, who's been absolutely dreadful. So can he show us more than what he did at Kentucky? There's an absolute possibility of that. Watching him play, I don't really like his shooting style. It feels like it's really sort of low release out in front of his body. They went in at a terrible level, and is that related? Maybe. 29% shooting is rough. Now, he did shoot excellently from the free throw line, so there is some hope that his three-point shooting can be better, but only 3.3 assists per 36 minutes, only 0.9 steals per 36. Those are really rough numbers. The true shooting was bad. The three-point attempt rate was bad. His advanced stuff was rough, and this is really an upside sort of pick, and just hoping that some of that talent, some of that speed, some of that, I guess, Kentucky shine can come through and bring him here at number 10. I'm not really certain about this pick at all. And it's where the draft really starts getting a little bit rough. Let's move on now to the next selection at pick number 11. As we get towards the end of the lottery, we're seeing the San Antonio Spurs in the lottery at pick number 11, and they are picking DENI AVDIJA of Israel. I don't even know if that's the right way to pronounce it, because all of the videos I've been watching of him have been on mute, so I'm not sure. He is at pick 11 here. The big worry and the massive worry with AVDIJA is shooting. It's horrible. Now, he is a 6'9" forward who shows really strong passing numbers. Only 3.1 assists per 36, but that's when you watch what he does, the passing is strong. He's a good point forward, and I think that assist number would be significantly higher in the NBA. But the shooting is horrible. 34% from 3, which is okay, but it's so limited attempts. 52% from the free throw line, and this is not just for one season. We're talking 2-3 seasons in Europe where he can't hit free throws, and that is the biggest indicator of future NBA shooting ability. So that's a massive worry for him. Defensively, I don't think that he is all that bad. He is okay. The Spurs need wing players badly. DeMar DeRozan's been playing small forward all season. I don't think he's a long-term option for them there. Obviously, he's getting up in age. And having that guy who can be a facilitator on the wing, who's big, got good size, not a bad defender, it makes sense. Now, it also makes sense that he can't shoot threes, because the Spurs seem to love that in players. But that's a worry when you've got DeJounte Murray and Derek White and LaMarcus Aldridge and DeMar DeRozan and all these other blokes that can't shoot threes on this team. That is a concern. But I think taking him here at this spot, where the other players left I've got more question marks about, I think is probably the right area for DENI. Let's go on to pick number 12. It's the Sacramento Kings, and I'm taking Cole Anthony here at pick number 12. Just another guard. Who knows what's happening with Bogdan Bogdanovic, Buddy Hield. But even when we're at this spot at pick number 12, we are not going, well, I need to be picking for need. This real standout player here. It's just like, can he be a guy that's solid enough? He averaged 18.5 points this season. He did have a knee injury, which was a worry at UNC. Only 4 assists. That's obviously not a great number as well. And so many indicators were rough. True shooting at 50 is not good. 75 from the line is okay. 35 from 3 is okay. But 38% overall shooting, low rebound rate. Now, he was a really good, low assist rate. Really good rebounder he was. The steal numbers are okay. His usage was absolutely off the charts. And that's not going to be the case in the NBA. He's not going to have that level of usage. But so many other of his numbers, like his win shares, his box score plus minus, were really poor. But this is looking at him and going, well, I don't think the situation really suited him. No spacing at all on that North Carolina team, and I think that had an impact on Cole. And much like looking at someone like Maxey, it's like, well, what am I doing here? Like getting some guards, getting competent guards who maybe can develop into something is probably the direction we want to go. And that's sort of just taking a hopeful hit on Cole Anthony at pick number 12. At number 13, the New Orleans Pelicans get this selection, and they are going with Josh Green out of Arizona. Green, I think, had his moments this year. I think some of the detractors for Green are being a little bit harsh in what he's been able to do. Now, he only averaged 12 points per game, which is not good, but he did play alongside a couple of really strong players in Arizona, in NICO Mannion and Zeke Nnaji, I think that's how you pronounce it. Nnaji. Anyway, you know the guy I mean, that big man, a couple of other potential first-round picks. So there was some sharing of the ball that had to go around there. He did only have a true shooting of 53%, but 36% on 3, 78 from the line. The problem with him is, I think this is going to be an issue from the fantasy point of view, is what the hell else is he doing apart from being just a solid wing who's a solid defender who can make solid enough reads, but not doing any of those in high levels. He did have a really strong steal rate, almost 1.8 steals per 36 minutes. The three-point shooting was okay, and it looks like it could translate all right. I think this is just getting a wing player in there, which are always valuable players, who can maybe hit some threes and provide some defense and be a secondary, tertiary ball handler guy, and I think what Green showed is enough for me to like him at this spot. Let's go on to pick 14 to round out the lottery now. Portland has that selection, and they are taking my mate, ALEKSEJ POKUŠEVSKI. Now, watching this guy play, it looks ridiculous. He is giant. He is 7 foot. He weighs allegedly 201 pounds. I feel like that's 20 or 30 pounds too much. He looks like Gumby. He looks like a stick, but he moves like he's 6'3". He dribbles. He gets in and out. He crosses blokes over. He bombs in threes. He's a ridiculously good passer. He is literally a guard stuck in a 7-foot body. Now, the problem is, he's going to be a little bit slow to be playing as a point guard, and as a big man, he's just way too weak, and I'm not sure he's ever going to get strong enough. But he banged in 32% of his threes, which is not a great number, but it's strong enough. 78% from the line, which is a good translatable number. He attempted 50% of his shots from 3 because he cannot get down low. He is too weak to play in close, and that impacted his overall field goal percentage, which was terrible. But on a per 36 basis, this bloke averaged 12 rebounds, almost 5 assists, 3 blocks, and 2 steals. Now, he's playing for Olympiakos B, so second division in Greece, which is a terrible level. It's not a good level. But I don't care what level it is. You producing and watching him play, banging threes, crossing blokes up, diming guys up, hitting threes, getting steals, blocking shots. I want to take that chance on that guy. I don't know if he's ever going to be strong enough to be a full-time starting 30-minute-a-night center. But I do know that he's really bloody intriguing, and I have to take him at this spot. Next up, outside the lottery, at number 15, the Orlando Magic. They are taking RJ Hampton from the New Zealand Breakers. Hampton was a little bit disappointing, I think, down here in the NBL this year. Only averaged 9 points per game, which is obviously not going to cut it. That's 15 per 36, 7 rebounds and 4 assists. He did average 2 steals. I thought he looked really strong defensively, or good enough defensively. I don't think he's a point guard. I think he is a guy that plays off the ball, and the shooting numbers weren't strong. 48 true shooting is obviously not a good number. But I think, again, having a guard there who can maybe be a scorer and can provide some defense, that's exactly what we're looking for at this spot. As you know, I do favor wings and guards a lot, especially over a ground-bound big man who can't switch on the perimeter. Over to pick number 16 now. In this mock draft, we are looking at the Minnesota Timberwolves. They have got their second selection in this draft. They got this one off the Brooklyn Nets, and with this selection, I'm taking Kira Lewis Jr., the point guard out of Alabama. Now, sometimes when I watch these players, I look at him and I read about him, and then I go, Now, is it my brain that is comparing him to Colin Sexton because they both went to Alabama? And I can't rule that out for sure. But I watch him and I go, this is what I sort of saw from Colin Sexton. A point guard whose passing wasn't fantastic, who was super fast and was strong in scoring. He averaged 18 points per 36, 5 assists per 36, 37% shooting, 80% from the line. Didn't draw free throws, which is a problem. Advanced stuff was pretty rough. Defensively, he had concerns. But that speed, competent point guard play is really important. The Wolves are looking at Jordan McLaughlin as their backup point guard at this point in the offseason. Who knows what's going to happen? And getting Lewis in there to be a player who runs around quickly and can be a real trouble in terms of scoring and can hassle guys defensively, I think is the way that they would go here in this area. At number 17, the Boston Celtics. They get this selection from the Memphis Grizzlies. Jaden McDaniels has been pretty disappointing throughout college, but really high value coming into the draft. Having a small forward sort of player, more of a 4 than a 3, but 6'10", who does have some defensive ability. Now, he's obviously really weak. He needs to get his strength up. He's still only 19. His block rate was impressive. Got some steals. Rebounding was okay, 34% from 3, 76 from the line. That's solid enough shooting. Overall, the advanced numbers were relatively rough on McDaniels. But I think taking him here for Boston, again, getting that 3-4 type of player, they have got a lot of wings. They don't really have many that can be power forward sized, and they don't have a rush to develop him, so he can sort of sit there for a year or two and try and work things out, and then maybe come in and be that third player along with Tatum and Brown, and then McDaniels as your 2, 3, 4 once Gordon Hayward ages out and moves on. At pick number 18, the Dallas Mavericks, Precious Achiuwa, the center from Memphis. Who knows what the hell we would have seen from Precious if Wiseman hadn't been suspended. But Wiseman was suspended, so we got some okay numbers. Now, I've seen Precious be mocked inside the top 10 in certain drafts. I've seen him outside the top 25 in other drafts. He is a guy who looks huge, 6'9", 7'2" wingspan. He is 20 years of age. He's strong. Defensively, I think he's pretty stout. Rebounds look pretty good. Blocks, steals, wingspan is all good. But offensively, I'm not really sure what he's bringing. Under 60% free throws. He did take some threes. He didn't hit them all that well. That's, he's gotten, I would have doubts about his stretchability. Absolute black hole offensively as well. In terms of, assist rate, 1.1 is obviously really, really low. Turned it over a ton more. A 3-to-1 turnover to assist ratio is just not going to cut it. That's really, really poor. Box defensive stuff, really strong, but how many defense-only big men are we really looking at? Again, I think having him there with Dwight Powell's Achilles injury, another guy to throw in the mix with Porzingis, with Maxey Kleber as well, and just getting another solid big man is not a bad move for Dallas, but I don't like looking at him being mocked into the lottery, which I've seen in certain situations. At pick number 19, it is the Milwaukee Bucks, and they pick Aaron Nesmith of Vanderbilt. Now, the Bucks get this pick off the Indiana Pacers, part of the Malcolm Brogdon deal. And Aaron Nesmith, a guy that if you look at his shooting numbers, they are insane. Now, he averaged 23 points per game this season. He's a sophomore, 6'6" from Vanderbilt, 5 rebounds per game, 1.4 steals. But the story of what Nesmith was able to do is he hit 52% of his threes. That is not a typo, and that is not on 1 attempt per game. That is hitting 4.3 triples per game on 8.2 attempts. Now, outside of that, I don't really know what else he did, but this guy is probably going to be the absolute best shooter in this class, a 40, 41, Joe Harris type percentage three-point shooter. What else is he going to do? That is where I'm not sure about it. Defensively, are there going to be concerns? Possibly. But overall, just getting a guy like this to be an absolute bomber, maybe to fill in the role that Dante DiVincenzo is playing this season as DiVincenzo moves into with the Wes Matthews role, but getting a shooter, play Kyle Korver's role, and a guy that can be a 40% guy, I think the Bucks would absolutely love this guy. And I could easily see him going at number 10 to Phoenix, to be honest, just getting another absolute bomber in there. And I have really no doubts about his shooting translating. So Aaron Nesmith goes there at number 19 to Milwaukee. At number 20, the Brooklyn Nets go with Patrick Williams out of Florida State, a 6'8", small forward, power forward, player who didn't play a huge amount in college, only averaged 9 and 4, but did get a steal and a block per game, which is encouraging. Only 22 minutes, so that's 1.7 blocks per 36. 15 points. He shot 84% from the line, which is really where I get interested. He did attempt a decent amount of threes. They didn't go in at a huge rate, but the really strong free throw rate makes me encouraged that he can be a stretchy sort of player with some really strong defensive abilities. Offensively, it's just going to come down to whether that shot comes around, but I have some decent faith in it, and playing that sort of backup role behind Kevin Durant, Caris LeVert, Kurucs and Musa, if they're still around, it's a good development type situation for Williams to be in. Let's go through the last 10 picks in this draft now. Pick number 21, the Denver Nuggets, Grant Riller. Unbelievable scorer. And yes, against low quality opposition, there's no doubt about that, but I'm just not ignoring it. He's a 6'3 senior, he's 23 years of age, but he averaged 22 points per game. He got a high steal rate, he hit 36% of his threes, his true shooting was 61%. Just watch him play and you go, well, it's not going to be this good in the NBA, but 4 years of unbelievable level production, I can't ignore it. So I've got to take him, just throw him in the mix there with that guard rotation and see what comes of it. At number 22, the Philadelphia 76ers take Leandro Bolmaro of Barcelona. The shooting numbers for him are horrible. That's obviously a worry. And again, mocking him to Philadelphia with their shooting worries is a concern. Maybe he doesn't come over straight away and they can develop him, but he had a massive steal rate. He only played 18 minutes a night for Barcelona, but 2.6 steals per 36. Over 5 assists as well. The problem there is 28% from 3, 68 from the line, 42 overall, true shooting of under 51. They are all concerns. I like watching him play. The ability for him to be a big guard, 6'7 guard who can pass and can defend is encouraging. And we know the Sixers love their size, they love their defense, they love those sort of guards. So Bolmaro makes sense as a first-round player to me. At pick number 23, Miami. They go with Paul Reed out of DePaul. So, DePaul Reed? Maybe? That's a horrible name. Let's go with Paul Reed, who has insane defensive numbers. Now, he could be, and again, when I talk about Kira Lewis, and I go, is it Colin Sexton because I see Alabama? And I look at Paul Reed, and I go, do I think Paul Millsap because of the name Paul? Maybe. But his ability to be an absolute defensive monster, 2.9 blocks per 36, 2.1 steals per 36, over 12 rebounds. The shooting, not quite there, 31%, but 74% from the line. There is an ability for that to develop over time. Rebounding, defensively, is he like a Grant Williams-y type of a player? Look really good in college and can play well in the NBA, but maybe doesn't put up the good numbers. There's possibilities with all of that. But I do like what Reed can do, and I just like to give it a chance to see if these insane defensive production numbers can translate over at all. And I think what better place to do it than in Miami? Number 24, Utah. They go with Isaiah Stewart out of Washington. Who knows what's going to happen in their front court with Gobert? Are they going to do anything with him?
Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert.
Ed Davis was a disaster. Joe Ingles and Bojan Bogdanovic are older. They've been playing the 4 at times. Stewart is a 6'9 power forward center who averaged 17 and 9 with over 2 blocks per game. I think just getting another big man in there to try and provide some relief for Gobert and develop for the future is probably the right spot. I'm not totally happy with him here. He is only going to be 19 at draft time, so that's an encouraging number. The shooting doesn't really show us much, although 77% from the line is strong, with a massive free throw rate as well, almost a 60% free throw rate. Shot blocking, rebounding, good free throw shooting big man. Why not take an opportunity to grab someone like Isaiah Stewart here at this selection? Let's round through the rest of these now. At pick number 25, we're looking at Vernon Carey Jr., highly hyped high school prospect that didn't really live up to that during his college time with Duke. 6'10", big man, average 18 and 9 with 1.6 blocks. Shot the 3 really well, but so limited attempts, 38%, but 0.7 per game. And then the worrying sign is 67 from the line. That's the real concern there with Vernon Carey, is that three-point shooting fake or not? The blocks are good, the rebounds are really good, the scoring was pretty strong. Defensively, I thought he was okay. There's some absolute hope there, depending on what happens here with Nerlens Noel. He can be a third-string center, he can move in there, and I think he's a guy that we look at as a backup NBA center moving forward. At the next pick, the Boston Celtics, they get their second of 3 first-round picks. JAHMI'US RAMSEY of Texas Tech, just a shooter, really, or a shooting guard who has concerns about what else he's going to do. He averaged 15 points as an 18-year-old here for Texas Tech. 1.3 steals is an encouraging number as well. Defensively, I thought he looked okay, but 64% from the line really does make you query the 43% three-point shooting. One of those is fake, and I don't know which one. There is more three-point attempts than free throw attempts. 5.2 three-point attempts per game, 2.9 free throw attempts per game. But there's a big disconnect between those numbers. Overall, true shooting of under 55 is rough. Offensively, outside of that really hot three-point shooting, I'm not really sure what else he did. And if that doesn't work out, then it's a disaster. But again, the Celtics have a real opportunity to develop him here. Pick number 27, the New York Knicks. They got this one off the Clippers, and they're taking Nico Mannion, the old Ginger Ninja himself, from Arizona, who at one point was being mocked as a top 10 lottery sort of guy. That did fall off, but his passing is really strong. He averaged 5.3 assists per game, 14 points, 1.2 steals. Didn't turn the ball over really at all. Strong turnover ratio, but the shooting, 33% is rough. 39% overall from the field is horrible. Some encouragement with his good free throw shooting as well. I don't think he blocked a single shot all season. So there are some concerns there with him. Let's have a look, actually. I've got his game log. No, did not block a single shot all season, which is amazing. Evan Fournier would be proud of that. At pick number 28, the Toronto Raptors, they're taking Xavier Tillman at pick number 28. Big man from Michigan State. Tillman, again, I don't think he's really going to be a starting center, but averaged 14 and 10 with over 2 blocks. I think his passing was pretty strong as well, so that can help in that Gasol role. We don't know what the hell's going on at center there with Ibaka and Gasol, both free agents, and Chris Boucher. So an opportunity for Tillman to maybe get some rotation minutes early on, and that passing definitely won't hurt his ability to get into the rotation. At pick number 29, the Lakers go with Desmond Bane out of TCU, a 4-year player, really high volume scorer, just getting a guy that has proven it over time, hyper athletic as well. He's going to be 22 pretty soon, so a little bit older, but 44% from 3. I don't think that's completely unreal. 79% from the line, but doesn't get to the line at all. But just having a guy who can bang in threes, who can score at a high level, whose assist numbers were okay as well, who rebounded at a pretty strong rate at TCU. There's a lot of positive indicators outside of his age, and I think that's a really strong option there for the Lakers. And then finishing out my first round mock draft, Boston's up again. And they take Trey Jones out of Duke. Second year in college, this was for Trey. He really improved his three-point shooting. Of course, his brother Tyus Jones plays for the Memphis Grizzlies. 16 points, 6 assists, almost 2 steals, and shot 36% from 3 with 77% from the line. The good assist rate, the good steal numbers, the strong shooting. If he can maintain that strong shooting, I think he's going to be a steal at this level. And again, just having another point guard who can be capable defensively and can shoot is always something that NBA teams should be aiming for. So he is the end of my mock. So let's have a look now at how the draft ended up going with a bit of a summary here. Number 1, LaMelo Ball goes to the Knicks. 2 is Killian Hayes. Number 3, Anthony Edwards. 4, ONYEKA OKONGWU. Number 5, the Wiseman, the Blunty, James Wiseman, goes to the Warriors at number 5. At number 6, Isaac Okoro. Number 7, Obi Toppin. Number 8, Devin VASSELL. Number 9, Tyrese HALIBURTON. Number 10, your second Tyrese, TYRESE's. Tyrese MAXEY goes to the Suns. 11, DENI AVDIJA. Number 12, Cole Anthony. 13, Josh Green. 14, ALEKSEJ POKUŠEVSKI. 15, RJ Hampton. 16 is Kira Lewis Jr., 17, Jaden McDaniels, 18, Precious Achiuwa, 19, Aaron Nesmith, probably want him a bit higher actually when I'm looking back at this. Number 20, Patrick Williams, 21, Grant Riller, 22, Leandro Bolmaro, 23, Paul Reed, 24, Isaiah Stewart, 25, Vernon Carey, and then to round it out, 26 is JAHMI'US RAMSEY, 27, Nico Mannion, 28, Xavier Tillman, 29, Desmond Bane, and number 30, Trey Jones. So that's it. My first NBA mock draft of the season is done. It's in the books. Let me know. What did you think? How stupid am I? What did I do wrong? Drop it in the comments. Tweet it at me at redrock_Beeble. And don't forget, subscribe. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and on YouTube. Give it a thumbs up. Share it with people. Go, look at this dickhead. Look at where he mocked out, or who he mocked for our team to pick. What an idiot. Encourage it. Get it out to people. Let me know what you think as well. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.